Okay, so I'm going to look at a right to reside in residency first. Hopefully this is going to work. Right. European nationals don't need visas to come or to be in the UK. And that also includes people who are the family members of European nationals. You're not asking for permission to be here, you are exercising a right you have. So what we're looking at is very different from British immigration rules. It's things that come from our membership of the European Union, the European Economic Area. So coming to the UK is all right, you don't ask for permission. And the right you have is the right to reside. It's not just about being here on holiday. Americans can come here and be on holiday and they don't need a visa before they come. Same with Australians, they can come here and be allowed in for 6 months when they get here. They don't have a right to reside here. The right to reside is a right to live here, but also work, claim benefits in some cases, and eventually apply for permanent residence because you've been residing for a particular time. Okay? It's different from just being on holiday. Might have seen it? Okay, so we're going to look at what the right to reside is, how you prove it, and permanent residency, and then what sort of useful documents you might need or have. Okay, so having that right to reside as opposed to just being here on holiday for a long time. After 5 years, you have a right to permanent residence. You also have rights to access benefits in some cases, and in terms of bringing your families here, then it assists you in that way. It's different from, so permanent residency, which we'll look at right at the end, about applying for that. You have to have lived in the UK for 5 years. Not just lived here, but lived here as a qualified person. What do you think qualified person means?
Working. Somebody who works or...
Okay. What does, when you do your English classes, what does qualified normally mean? Things like certificates, things like doctors, teachers, that sort of thing. In this case, it doesn't mean you have to be 5 years here as a doctor. It just means 5 years as somebody who qualifies, who fulfills certain criteria, which we'll look at through the next slides. And after you've lived here, you have that permanent residence. You might not have this card, you might not have any documents. Either you have it or you don't. 3 or 4 years ago, when we first started thinking about this, and 2 years ago, most people with permanent residence didn't bother with this. There was no need. For the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a change in the atmosphere in this country, and more things require you to have documentation, either to show access to benefits, access to housing, rights to marry people, rights to get driving licenses, all sorts of things. And so more and more people are finding that it's important to access documentation. So people do this, they apply for one of these cards, and it proves your right to live in the UK and puts you in the same position, or proves that you're in the same position as any British citizen. So, how do you prove, what are you trying to prove when you're proving a right to reside? You have this right. The first thing you have to prove is that as an EEA national, you have to prove that you're an EEA national, so a passport or an ID card. I'm not sure if there's any other way that you could certainly show that you're a European national, but if there was, then that would have to do. I don't think there is one. So the right to reside changes as time goes by, as you exercise it. When you first come to the UK, for the first 3 months, you have a right to be here, and it's a right to reside, and it goes to your 5 years. But for those first 3 months, you're not allowed to access any income-related benefits. After those 3 months, to extend your right to reside, then you must be a qualified person. You must fulfil one of the criteria, which is these. So, right. Some of these are really simple, some of these are not so simple. So, a worker, you understand what a worker is. Someone who's self-employed, that you're working for yourself, you're not working for a boss, then that's fairly straightforward as well. A student, that means someone in full or part-time education. Someone who's self-sufficient. So self-sufficient is someone who you don't need to work, you don't need to you're not studying, but you're able to support yourself. You have enough money. You may have been working, you've got lots of savings, and you can support yourself. A job seeker, someone who is no longer working, but they're looking for work, then that will mean that you're a qualified person for a short period of time. You can be a family member of one of these people, a family member of work, a family member of someone who's self-employed or self-sufficient. Either as a European national yourself, you can be a family member, or you can be a non-European national whose family member is working. In some cases, if you're the primary carer of a European national, which I will look at in more detail at the end of this, then you can be a qualified person. Or you could be a combination of the above. You could be a student who's working, in which case it's probably easier to say, I'm working.
You can be working a job seeker.
No, I don't think so, because you're a worker.
Job seeker is a worker as well.
For a period, yes, but not automatically.
Well, after 3 months, I was a worker and a job seeker.
Good, but if you're actually working, and what, you're getting job seekers?
Yeah, but I was not out, yes, because I was working.
Yeah, then you're a worker.